Hello and welcome to Building Visibility and Sustainable Workplace Relationships. My name is Marcus Vanart, and I would just like to tell you a little bit about myself, tell you what I do, and then I want to share with you some of the main principles according to which I coach my clients. So, um, for more than 15 years now, I've been a coach with a variety of stakeholders across a variety of industries. So I came from the pharmaceutical industry initially, and I've worked in two countries in the pharma industry. I've worked as in a managerial position. I've worked in training positions and in sales context. So that is where I honed my skills as a communicator. To talk a little bit about my formal background, my formal university background is in psychology and in clinical psychometrics. So I have a deep interest in people, the drivers behind their behaviors, how people build relationships, and how people sustain relationships and their own visibility and track record and reputation across time. My approach to work with clients is really grounded in strong commercial context, but I'm also involved in teaching at Toronto Metropolitan University at the Chang Business School. I focus my topics mainly on clear communication, deliberate communication. I focus on building relationships with people that are going to be key to your success in the workplace. I also cover topics such as conflict management, presentation skills, and stakeholder management, running effective workplace meetings, interview skills, and so forth. And you can see that the general theme is people and communication and the relationships that go with that. So today I would like to cover with you a few concepts that I revisit with my clients on a regular basis. I'm going to start with the idea that your visibility in the workplace is your absolute greatest asset. So what I mean by visibility is not who you know, but who knows you and what they know you for. So I'm not speaking about visibility as a sense of self-promotion, of self-aggrandizement. I'm not talking about visibility in terms of showing how great you are at other people's expense. But indeed, it's actually the inverse of that. I speak of visibility as a relationship outcome. It is how you run your relationships, how you manage the people in those relationships that help them view you as somebody worth knowing. It is a result of the experience that they have when they work with you and when they interact with you. And so visibility cannot be forced or commanded, right? We're talking about visibility here as something that's elicited in the relationships that you have with other people. So, for example, if I get to know you and I like the way that you think, or I'm impressed with the questions that you ask, or I observe your reputation over time, through me, your visibility will increase too, because I will speak of you and I'll speak well of you. So visibility is an output of great relationships. Now, I want to talk to you about something that is really important and maybe a bit of a challenge to all of you. When last have you made somebody else feel visible? The reason why I ask this question is that in building relationships, there are a few things that are really important drivers in creating a rapport between individuals. Number one, to have a good conversation, ask the other person questions about things that matter to them. So show genuine curiosity. And to show genuine curiosity in another person automatically draws them to you because it feeds certain emotional needs that we will cover in just a few moments. In good conversations where you make other people feel visible, you're creating an interactive space where they can contribute and where their contributions are valued. So you will see that we're not setting ourselves up against others, but we are setting ourselves up in collaboration with others so that we create a space of communal value. Something that struck me a few years ago, actually, I was asking myself, what is it that makes anybody feel drawn to another person? And I concluded that it is something like this. Most people have a fundamental desire and a need to feel three things. They want to feel visible in the eyes of others. Secondly, they want to feel useful, or maybe one could say smart or intelligent, right? But they want to feel that they are contributing something. And they want to feel that they're worth spending time with. So humans are both complex and also simple. Emotionally, we've got these basic needs. Do I feel visible? Do I feel useful or intelligent or interesting? Do I feel that people want to spend time with me? And this is your opportunity with others when you meet folks in the workplace, when you meet folks during your networking activities, etc. Do you make them feel visible, useful, and worth spending time with? It's a basic human transaction that we all crave. You also do not need to have an extroverted uh, personality in order to do this. I meet numerous, well, in fact, I work with hundreds of clients every year, many of them deep thinkers, quiet, relatively introverted, but they know how to build good relationships. And it comes down to the fact that they're curious about others and they make others feel visible, useful, and worth spending time with. And these principles apply everywhere, whether it's with your colleagues, with your suppliers, your clients, managers, people many steps above you in the organization, or people that report to you. So that is my challenge. Do you make others feel visible? Because through the resultant relationship that you develop with them, that relationship of trust, your visibility will raise as well. So clients often tell me that they feel that it's really hard to reach out to others. If you're new at a certain work environment, you've just joined a company, you've switched industries, you don't have much of a network, you don't feel visible, everything is a blind spot. Three things kick in. Imposter syndrome. Why would they want to talk to me, right? So that might be the first sort of question in your own mind. The second thing is, what am I going to say because I don't want to feel like I'm wasting their time? And the third thing is, there's so much self-doubt, and I often say to my clients, your head fills with so much noise about your uncertainties that you never have those conversations. I think a big part of why we are fearful to have conversations with people that we've never met, but who are maybe potentially very important to us, is that we focus on what should I say? And it is not a good idea. It's not a good vantage point to start from, to say, when I'm in a conversation with somebody else, what should I say? It should rather be, what do I ask? Right? So, because if I am curious about the other person, if I drive my conversations through great questions, then I will get them talking. Then I will stop carrying the full weight of the conversation on my shoulders. Normally, people go, I need to know what to talk about. I need to know what to say. People think that I need to come across as smart and super intelligent and hyper informed and so forth. But that's really not true. To get a conversation going, you need to dig into what is important to the other person. Stop carrying the weight of the full conversation. Shift from impressing towards understanding. Ask a great question. Where do you work? What are you currently busy with? What are some of the obstacles that you folks are currently facing? What do you think might make it better? Is there something I might do to help, etc.? Let your curiosity do the work, and you will notice that conversations actually bloom and blossom. You enter any environment initially unknown to other people. So in the early days, when you're having conversations with new colleagues, with your manager, with clients, with people that you're networking with, and so forth, you're going to start at this baseline of not being known up until that time. But people will get to know you across time with more and more interactions that you have. How do you build that early visibility? As I mentioned before, you don't need deep knowledge of every subject in order to start a conversation with somebody else. You can simply be curious and ask them great questions that elicit their ideas and their thoughts. I've been taught by my own mentors that showing a person respect, showing genuine curiosity about them, what they value, who they are, what they love, what they try to avoid, etc., matters more than providing and delivering my own wisdom or perceived brilliance. Small human outreach builds early visibility. So greeting somebody at the help desk and saying, how are you doing? How long have you worked here? Chatting with somebody at the coffee station or in the cafeteria and asking them what role they have in the organization and asking them who else they work with. Little signs of curiosity in the human. We don't enter conversations in order to only solve problems. We enter conversations to enter relationships, to build the glue that holds us as a small community together. And so it circles outward and onward. So I want to chat with you about networking, which is, I think, a fundamental relationship skill set. So most of us are blessed to be born and raised into a natural network. It's organically there for us. But the workplace is not a place where your network is necessarily guaranteed. In fact, my first manager, when I moved to Canada, said to me, Marcus, your invisibility as a new addition to our company is probably your biggest challenge or your biggest enemy. invisibility. You don't have a network. Everybody feels like a stranger and everything feels like a blind spot. And he was phenomenal. He helped me go and introduce myself to key players within the organization and to initiate conversations, whether they were work-related conversations or social conversations. But as a skill set, as a relationship skill set, a networking, knowing how to start a conversation confidently, in a friendly, approachable manner, and in a curious manner is absolutely essential, because then we can listen for context and things can start falling together in this new environment. And then we can follow up with intention. Say to the person, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Hey, if I see you next time, maybe I'll join you for lunch. Or is it possible to ask you a few questions about what we discussed today later on, right? So have a plan to reconnect with the person that you've just started a small conversation with. Conversations build relationships across time, provided that there's consistency. Now, your most important relationship at work is probably your manager. Now, over time, it might become your manager and others, but your immediate lens through, or the immediate lens through which you become visible to others, will be your manager, because it's by virtue of the context that they set for you that you start to become useful in an organization. It is also important to know what is important to them. Because if I haven't had a conversation with my manager where they could lay out for me their priorities, where they could explain to me what is urgent and why it is urgent, where I should go should I need help, what kind of support they anticipate to be able to give me, what it is that they would look for in terms of meeting or exceeding their expectations of me. Without that, I'm really navigating in the dark, right? So your relationship with your manager is where you learn context, where you interpret priorities according to their view of things. And your manager and the reputation that you build with your manager also frames your contribution to others. So they give feedback. They might publicly comment on something that you've provided or something that you've exceeded or met expectations in or exceeded expectations and so forth. So keep this in mind. Managers trust people who are credible, and we'll get back to this a few times. So 3 things in relationships and how trust is built. Are you credible? Do you know what you're talking about? Do you come across as confident? Can you navigate under uncertainty? Okay, so that's credibility. Managers love that. They need it from you. Number 2, are you reliable? Meaning that across time and across incidents or interactions, you keep on bringing high value, you're punctual, you keep your promises, you don't underdeliver. So we've got thus far credibility and reliability. The third thing is insight. Do you show that you understand more than just your work or your task? Do you show that you crave insight into the why behind the what that we do? Do you show that you crave insight into other people's perspectives, or that you're at least willing to consider a different way of looking at subject matter in order to increase your own context. So not only managers, but in this case, managers decide whom they trust, because without telling you this, they look for credibility, reliability, and insight or wisdom. So now visibility, let's say you built great visibility in the eyes or through your manager and through the stage that they basically create for you. It doesn't scale automatically. Good work and working yourself to the bone is great and it's necessary, but it's not sufficient. It's not going to differentiate you. And I often speak to my clients. I'll give you an example. I had a client who's really shy and introverted, but extremely competent. You want anything done, you give it to her and she'll do it to the nth degree, but quiet. So she remained competent. Everybody knew that she's reliable, but you didn't hear much from her in meetings. And so we worked a little bit on ask questions within meetings so that people feel that they can have a conversation with you. You're not just sitting quietly in the corner making notes and then scurrying off and doing the task. So build presence inside meetings by asking a good question now and again, because as soon as the other person responds to you, you've got a conversation. And as we mentioned earlier on, you become known by the conversations that you have with others. Visibility grows when other people can place your contribution in the context, right? So they notice you inquiring about something that they are all busy with in the work. They notice that you're mindful of timelines. They notice that you're mindful of small details that may matter later on. Silence is very often misinterpreted. And as I mentioned in the beginning, it is not simply good enough to be competent. You've got to participate in the conversations that occur within a team context. That is the only way in which you'll really become visible, because that is when people are gathered around one table or around the screen in a virtual meeting. Everybody is present. When you go off to your own workstation and you do your individual work, that is normally quite invisible. So if you look around you and you want to pick who do you need to build your best relationships with, I want you to have a look at this following visual. In order to boost your own visibility, and again, I'm not talking about bragging, and I'm not talking about just self-advancement, but building a reputation and a track record amongst the right people, amongst your peers. Look in this grid. There are people in your immediate environment who have high power over your own success in a career, and they also have a high interest in your success. So, good example would be your manager. Another example might be your manager's manager. They know what you do, they have a vested interest in what you do, and they're willing to give you a platform. They're willing to be your sponsor. They're on your side. I also want you to look at the bottom right quadrant, low power and high interest. These would be people like your colleagues. They don't have a great deal of executive power necessarily, but maybe they've already built a great relationship or set of relationships or reputation for themselves. And you work side by side with them. and they learn that they can trust you, that they learn that you're competent, that you're reliable, that you crave insight into what they do, why they do it, and how they do it, and what they value, right? So your high power, high interest stakeholders like managers, very, very important. Your lower power, high interest, equally important, because basically high power and high interest creates sponsors within an organization. Lower power, high interest can create amplifiers of the work that you do and of your reputation. And very often, your initial visibility spreads sideways amongst your peers and your colleagues before it starts to show in the higher tiers. Now, I've spoken at length now about building a reputation, building visibility. I've spoken about the glue that keeps people and relationships together, how you can engage others by showing genuine curiosity in them, because it's through your relationship with them that your own visibility will increase, right? Now, unfortunately, things don't always go perfectly well. Sometimes there's a rub, and highly competent, capable people work together, but they struggle because merely being competent doesn't mean that there's not going to be friction. There might be conflicts of interests. There might be inequality of competence. Timelines might be different. Resources might be there or not, and so forth. Expertise, especially in a work environment such as the Canadian work environment, we tend to be extremely specialized, and that necessarily creates silos to some extent. And in siloed work, where each person focuses on a different micro specialization, that can create a lot of blind spots. I don't fully know what you do and why you do it, and neither do you know that about me. And so the conclusion is that when tension arises, it is because there is missing context. There was a lack of a conversation. So in the ideal setting, frequent small conversations trump the effectiveness of infrequent large crisis managing conversations, like frequent interactions with the right people on a formal or informal basis might help you avoid the friction that occurs between silos and stakeholders in an organization. It's about managing the seams between the roles that we occupy. So the seams that I'm talking about are handoffs. I finish a certain piece of work and I hand it off to you. There could be a rub there. Making assumptions, thinking that I know what it is you want, but not being as clear as I could have been, and then trying to deliver against unspoken expectations that were not clarified ahead. For me, it is not just about developing soft skills at random. For me, it is all about managing risk in relationships, because relationships, when they're clear and when there's clear communication, it reduces execution risk. Silence creates rework. When we are working against assumptions and we're not certain, but we do it anyway, and calm questions can prevent escalation. So I'm wrapping up here. Relationships are sustained over time by building good credibility, demonstrating exceptional reliability across time, because that implies safety for the people around me, and showing that you're as curious about the other person as you are about yourself. Clarity over cleverness, right? Communicate until you fully understand. Consistency over intensity, I mentioned earlier on. It's too late very often if you wait for the big meeting to solve the big problems. And with a focus to contribute and help others over mere self-promotion, that is who gets more visible: the clear, the consistent, and the contributor. Those people tend to become known for a brand of being a people person and a helper. One final point: visibility is earned. It cannot be demanded through context, trust, and contribution. And sustainable relationships are like plants. It is like farming. You build relationships deliberately by having conversations deliberately and not only accidentally. If you found this interesting, and if you want to add any questions, reflections, or observations, we would absolutely love to hear from you. My time is out, and I wish you a phenomenal day. Um, Go and work hard, work deliberately, build great relationship. It benefits everybody. Thank you so much.